Well, hi guys, welcome to this Money Control live stream. It's a brand new day and the cues are looking extremely positive with the GIFT Nifty hinting at a start above that 22,600 mark, so signaling a fresh high for the Indian market. But of course, this is a very special edition of Opening Bell. Well, why is it special? Because I have two lovely ladies who will be joining me on the show today as we celebrate International Women's Day, a day in advance although, given the fact that tomorrow is a market holiday. But before I get my guests on board and kickstart the show, I would also like to request all the lovely ladies out there to send us any stock related query that you may have on our live feed, and we will try and get them addressed by our experts. But of course, on that note, let's take a look at how the global handover is shaping up this morning. Wall Street edges higher after back-to-back sessions of losses. Fed Chair Jerome Powell reiterates that the Fed is not ready to cut rates until there is more confidence with respect to inflation. Meanwhile, Asian markets are higher after a positive handover from Wall Street. The Nikkei has hit another fresh record high. The GIFT Nifty also at a fresh record high. 22,650 was where it was at when I last checked. Oil prices are also steady around that $82 a barrel mark as dollar dips to 1 month low on the Federal Reserve's rate cut outlook, and decline in gasoline stockpiles and looming ECB decision also support prices. Meanwhile, gold extends record run on rate cut bets. It's a Money Control exclusive. The sources say M&M Promoter Group may sell 93 lakh shares in a large block deal today. Also in focus will be NLC India, as government looks to sell up to 7% stake via the OFS route to meet the minimum public shareholding norm. Well, on that note, let me introduce my two guests on the show. Joining me, of course, is Shilpa Rout, who's the lead derivative analyst at Prabhudas, Lilladher, and Sanchita Mukherji, who's the senior finance professional and MF distributor. Ladies, great to have you on the show. I would like to wish you both a very happy Women's Day, a day in advance, given the fact that tomorrow is a market holiday. But Sanchita, let me come to you first. Women are known to have a better, intuitive sense, right? And they're also known to be better risk takers. So in that sense, do you think these qualities make women better money managers? And also take us through your, journey as a finance professional.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's really quite a pleasure. And just as you said, so there are a lot of, there's not much information in India per se, in long-term 10-year data, but there have been studies abroad by Fidelity, Wells Fargo, a lot of institutions which say that actually women love to deep dive, they research harder, they look at more risk-adjusted kind of allocations when they go about with investing. So they do quite a good job in terms of managing their money. In India, if we see 74% of the working women have started investing, out of which 49% actually invest in the capital markets products, be it equities, bonds, mutual funds, all of that, right? But however, 7% of the overall population of women invest through their own self-learning or self-driven research in India. But what I see, because I'm a mutual fund distributor, a lot of women in the last decade or so were not very proactive in terms of asking about products such as mutual funds. But nowadays, I do see a lot of folios being created in which the decision maker, typically in the age group of 18 to 25, 25 to 30, are the major decision maker in creating these folios in the mutual fund industry.
Right. Hold the thought. I'll come to you, Shilpa. Shilpa, you hardly see any women analysts when it comes to the derivatives and technical side, right? I can count the number of women analysts we have on that side of the markets, on the technical side of the markets. So what really prompted you to choose this end of the market or this end of the spectrum, given the fact that, as I mentioned, hardly any, women technical and derivative analysts. So did you have that thought that, it's a male-dominated profession? Were there any doubts on that front? And what really piqued your interest to follow the technical side of the market?
Good morning. And, very rightly said, there's one thing that we always say, charity begins at home. So this is what has happened with me as well. A very close family member of mine, my sister, she joined this particular segment as a profession, and seeing her and being involved with her, I started developing this interest in this particular stream. And I'm so thankful for that, because it is very, very exciting. Every day it's a new day. There's no 2 days are the same. You are always challenged on I would say a minute to minute basis, not also on day to day basis. So the stream is extremely exciting, and I'm glad that I chose this.
Of course, every day is a new day. Of course, given the kind of volatility we have seen in the market, one day we are up, one day we are down, one day we are knocking at fresh highs, which is what happened yesterday. We of course recovered very smartly from the day's low. In fact, just shy of that 22,500 mark now, Shilpa. GIFT Nifty hinting at a start above that 22,650 mark. Do you think Nifty will in fact test those levels on the higher side? And particularly for the bank Nifty, it has been shining bright last 5-6 sessions, right? Do you think the trend has completely reversed when it comes to the Nifty Bank Index?
Actually, the trend was quite positive also, from the past start of the new series, as per the data, the rollover analysis. I was very sure that, Nifty will test 22,500 to 22,800 first, then, maybe some sort of a meaningful correction, I would say, can come in. But this mark was supposed to be tested first, and I'm so glad that it has already, done that. And Bank Nifty, likewise, the data was very clear that, we would be heading towards 50,000 mark. The bottom was very well done at around 45,800. So that is where we have initiated long positions for all our recommendations for clients towards the 50,000 mark. So Bank Nifty still has a lot of upside potential from here. Nifty 22,800 is where I would see the next stop happening. After that, we can, of course, reevaluate and see how the levels are going up.
Right. Sanchita, coming to you, in terms of monthly returns, January hardly gave any returns. February was muted, to say the least. March, it's a low return month, given the fact that, there are advanced tax payments to be made. There's portfolio adjustments happening. But, interestingly, in election years, that's not the case. If you see, the last 15 years, at least in election years, we've seen positive and good returns in the month of March. Given the current setup, would you expect March to, outperform the, earlier months of the year? Or how is the setup really looking like to you?
Very good question over here. When we look at markets overall, especially at a time like this, when there's so much exuberance overall on the equity markets, and there's a lot of valid conversations happening around both the equity markets and the economy going hand in hand and doing so well, we don't typically tend to look at markets on a month-to-month basis. I'll tell you why. Because valuations are not inexpensive, for sure, especially in the small cap sector. Having said that, the outlook for the markets for investors to create wealth over a longer period remains very, very bullish, say 5 to 6 years. So if one keeps a horizon, say, and does not do daily or a monthly trading kind of an activity, see, because trading happens, you're able to make money in a short term. However, it does not percolate into creating wealth over a longer period. So what most of my clients are doing is that they are investing to the SIP route, and they're having a longish view, wherein, over the next, even if you were to grow, say, at a 22, 23 valuation for the next 30 years, it's actually 1000x. So that's the wealth creation effect that the equity markets can have for you. So we are keeping the horizon a little long term. We are not looking at short-term valuation, short-term market movements, because yes, it is volatile. Markets have two components. One is the volatility and the risk. So volatility is heightened. For sure, there are two wars happening. Global growth is coming down. China is degrowing to a very large extent. So volatility is there. But the risk that you see, which is of a fundamental economy acting up as a growth engine to support the equity valuations, is just not there. It's in fact very, very positive. So we are keeping a slightly longish view.
Right. But, in terms of risks, would you say that a delayed rate cut could be one risk to this rally, given the fact that yesterday we had commentary from the US Fed chairperson, right, where he's reiterated that there are no rush to cut rates. But for now, markets are pricing in a June rate cut. Of course, we were expecting one in March as well, which of course didn't come by, given the kind of data that's coming out of US. But in case, a June rate cut doesn't come by, do you think we are set or poised for a big disappointment both globally and, domestically?
I won't term it as a big disappointment. However, rate cut expectation is definitely there. And the fact that it may not happen might already be priced in to an extent. I think the markets are more exuberant on the fact that we have a lot of political stability. There's expected a transformational budget coming up in July if the government again reassures the investors with political stability and reforms the fundamentals of the economy, the building of physical hard assets, infrastructure. I think these are what are driving the FII interest in the resilience of the Indian market. The DII, in fact, FIIs for the first time have actually gone down below 20% of holding the Indian markets. It's actually a lot of DII, domestic institutional investors and retail investors, which are having faith in the economy. However, having said that, I don't think we're at a point in which we are highly leveraged as an economy with very high interest rates. Right now, if you were to see, they are in tandem with the inflation, which is below 5%. So rates are all right. They're comfortable. But yeah, a rate cut would be a further aid to spurring the market. So right now, the markets are moving a little sideways.
All right, of course, markets are moving sideways, and although we are perched at fresh highs, that euphoria, at least in the when it comes to headline indices, is kind of missing. But Shilpa, heading into trade, just about 3 to 4 minutes left for market open. What would be your top trades for today?
Would be looking at BEL, trading at around 211 now. It has a strong support at 200 zones, and from here targets of 250 to 270 cannot be ruled out. It is very strongly placed on option chain as well. The rollovers are high, and all the positive news flows are also for this script. So I believe the risk reward is very favorable for the stock. The other one would be a buy in Axis Bank. Axis Bank, I believe, is also showing a lot of strength with Bank Nifty well poised to test around 50,000 mark. I believe this stock can do 1180 to 1200 zones.
All right, these are the recommendations. But your thoughts on IT stocks, Shilpa? Saw a very good rebound yesterday, both IT and metals for that matter. As we head into trade, anything you're liking on the charts, the likes of TCS, HCL Tech?
IT, I would recommend for a day, to watch by. They have been consolidating and moving sideways. But yes, of course, if today they hit, they sustain above this, the overall index above 36,800, then I would believe that, there is a scope of a reversal from here where you would see overall index heading towards, 37,800 to 38,000 zones. But for today, I would give it a wait and watch.
All right, a wait on and watch on IT. But particularly for M&M, there is, of course, there was an MC exclusive news break last evening where promoter entities looking to sell 0.75% stake via a block deal. On M&M, are you spotting any levels that investors or traders should keep in mind?
Sorry, can you please come again? There was a little disconnect.
Talking about M&M, any levels that you'll be watching out for there here, given the fact that there could be a block deal in the counter today?
Just a second, I'll just check out the chart for M&M.
Hold that thought. I think the markets are just about to open. I'll come back to you on M&M, Shilpa, but markets have opened and 22,500 is on the charts. Fresh highs for the Nifty, building on the gains that we saw last in the afternoon yesterday. Of course, last 2 hours of trade. 22,500 is where we are at. And if you look at the advanced decline ratio, that's also fairly in favor of the gainers, marginally so. It's almost in the ratio 1:1. Let's pull up the mid-cap index as well and see whether or not there's some bit of strength coming in there after yesterday's weakness. The mid-cap index, of course, it has opened marginally in the green. We'll have to see whether or not the mid and small cap end of the markets managed to hold on to gains, because of course there was this advisory that there's froth building up in the broad end of the markets. and the broader markets since then have come under some bit of pressure. Nifty Bank Index, below that 48,000 mark, it had reclaimed that level yesterday, but marginally in the green. Let's also see how the IT pack is doing. Some bit of cool off after the recovery that we saw yesterday. Also the metals pack. Index also saw a good recovery from the day's low yesterday. It is holding on to gains. In fact, strength coming in there. Metals are shining bright. 1% gain on the metal index. Let's also take a look at some of the individual movers on the index then. JSW Steel has made a comeback. Top Nifty gainer today. For the last 2 sessions, the stock was not doing all that well. Today it is among the top Nifty gainers. Hindalco doing well. Tata Steel among gainers. So top 3 gainers are from the metal pack. ONGC, UPL, HDFC Life, these are some of the other gainers. M&M, as I mentioned, block deal in the counter likely. Promoters may be selling stake, 0.75% stake. So that's the top Nifty loser. Infosys, ICICI Bank, Ultratech, Cement continues to lose, and Reliance Industries also seeing some bit of profit taking. So all in all, the texture of the market looking positive, although it's kind of flattish. But we did hit a fresh high at open and crossed that 22,500 mark. Shilpa, M&M, top Nifty loser. What would be the level you'll be watching out for here on the downside?
The downside, I believe 1870 should be the, stop loss if you are going long. Otherwise, good trading zones also if you want to go long on a fresh basis. 1870 should be the levels that you need to watch out for.
All right, 1870 kind of levels to watch out for in M&M. But, IT stocks, Sanchita, I want to come to you and get in your thoughts on this particular pocket. Street view is fairly divided. Just recently we had a report from CLSA where they said that 2024 growth looks weak at best, and that's not priced in the valuations. This morning we have a report from Morgan Stanley. They are fairly constructive on IT. They say although valuations are looking heady, but they are quite positive on large cap names. Divergent views, but what are your thoughts? Because rate cuts being delayed, that's a headwind, right? Because consumer discretionary spends are not picking up until a rate cut happens in the US. So, client spends will remain muted. But what are your thoughts? Do you think this is the right time to look at some of these IT names from a long-term perspective?
Yes, definitely. Though there are challenges, like you rightfully mentioned, there are a lot of headwinds. And I would be at this time very ambivalent when I'm taking a sectoral view, especially on IT, because global growth is a concern, global spending on IT is a concern, the advent of AI and the disruption that it's causing is a concern. However, if you see the GCCs, the Global Centers of Excellence, which are being set up in India, there are very large BPOs, KPOs, which are coming up. A lot of spending is going on that. So within IT, if one were to look at companies who have their forte in the BPO and the KPOs and who are catering to the GC Global Centers of Excellence kind of business, that's one thing that one could look at. However, like I said, given that I'm extremely bullish in a 5 to 6 years basis on the overall markets, one has to keep a very, very diversified view instead of very, very thematic view on sectors. For example, 2000s were the time when IT did very well, followed by a period of consumption. Now, currently, there's a lot of talk on the PSU, which have currently done extremely well on the backing of the government spending, on the backing of the reforms that have unfolded, the corporate governance, and PSUs have really emerged as a winner in the current market themes. However, going forward, given that in the next 1 year, I see a lot of heightened volatility, and we would prefer to be across diversified sectors than taking any particular sectoral view.
All right, that's the view. But what about the NBFC space? Of course, there are regulatory risks, with respect to NBFCs, especially after RBI's crackdown on 3 NBFCs in the recent past, right? Do you think this regulatory overhang is here to stay, or do you think it's just a near-term risk and a buy on dip strategy would work here as well?
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that. Actually, I do not consider this to be a regulatory overhang. I think, again, it's a much needed reform. If you see our regulators, the RBI and SEBI, they have done a very, very commendable job in steering the economy out of the COVID. And, these kind of red flags are often raised by the regulator, which is actually very good for the common man, the man on the street, in terms of understanding risk and not just understanding returns and exuberance. So I think this regulation was much required. It will just ramp up in the near future in terms of NBFCs coming out with better risk management strategies, better KYC norms. I mean, if you were to read the headlines, a lot of NBFCs are actually investing in technology, right? To come up with good technological resources because the demand is so strong in the economy. They just want to capitalize on that front by actually putting in risk-adjusted technological advances so that it goes well with the regulator as well. So yes, this would be a very short-term kind of situation.
Right, Shilpa, coming to you on the charts, IFL Finance has staged a good comeback, after yesterday's, or in fact, over the last 2 days, we saw as much as 40% being shaved off, right? Today, some bit of recovery coming in. IFL Finance is up somewhere around 8%. JM Financial also some semblance of, stability coming in there after yesterday's sell-off. On the charts, how are you approaching these two stocks?
Talking about IFL, I believe, stock trading above 400 again is a positive trigger. It can do 430 to 440 zones with a stop loss of 390 from here on a tight stop loss basis. However, JM Financial, it is still okayish. I won't recommend any sort of, buying here.
All right, that's the view on IFL Finance. And Sanchita, coming to you, last question really. In terms of themes, a lot of impetus was given to Nari Shakti in the interim budget, right? Here on, do you think women-centric themes are poised to do well? The runway there is looking very strong with a 5 to 6 year perspective?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think there's a lot of focus on the budget, on government policies in terms of dissipating financial literacy across the board to the lowest common denominator. If you were to see the schemes of the government for, in terms of Lakpati Didi, in terms of Drone Didi being done in Madhya Pradesh, along with that, on the same lines, the kind of financial literacy that is being advocated across the board is quite commendable. I think a lot of work needs to be done on that front further. And a lot of focus is there in building, customized products for women investors, which will spur even the working class women to additionally know about how to come into, say, inheritance, how to save, how to invest their salary, their surplus. So customized products for women are also on the anvil. So yes, definitely there's a lot of focus on that.
All right, of course, a lot of focus on women-centric themes. With that, Sanchita, appreciate your taking out time and joining in this morning. Wishing you a very, very happy Women's Day. And of course, look forward to touching base with you sometime again on the show. Well, Shilpa, let's talk about some viewer queries now that are trickling in this morning. The first one is coming in on an HUL. Rupak Mehta has written in on our live feed and he says that, HUL, he has holdings in this particular stock and over the last 2 years, he's just made a very meager 8% kind of gains. So he wants to know whether he should stay invested or, rotate out of this stock and move into something else that could help him make better returns. What would your advice be?
At current levels, I would ask him to wait for a while because this 2400 zones hold a very good support zones. And from here, we have seen HUL in the last couple of months, testing towards 2600. So, but yes, if you want to exit the stock and move into something better, I can always advocate for that. But of course, given the current scenario that we are almost at, all-time, we are hitting new all-time highs and, any sort of time after here, we might see some, dip happening around 5 to 7% on the Nifty. So in that case, HUL will give you that stability where, you will not, that comes as a defense stock for you. So for now, I would suggest to hold, but anytime it comes towards 2600, you may exit.
All right, that's the view then. Hold on for now. I hope that answers your query. The next query is coming in on a Wockhardt. This one is coming in from Nirav Saxeria and he wants to know your thoughts. Of course, hospital stocks had come under a fair bit of pressure, on the back of regulatory risks. Today, we are seeing some bit of gains coming in there. I think, dips are being bought into. Wockhardt particularly, over the last 5 sessions, it has lost 7% or thereabouts, although on a monthly basis, it has done fairly well. Here, what would your advice be to traders?
It has a resistance around 600 zones, so that is where you need to book your gains once. Otherwise, the support comes at around 530. So the stock is in the midway right now, so I wouldn't recommend anything, right?
All right, that's the view on this particular stock. But talk about the Zomato. The stock has been doing fairly well, Shilpa. Of course, Antfin has sold a stake worth $350 million. So it did see some bit of a hiccup there. But today, if I see the shares of Zomato, they are doing fairly okay-ish. 200 levels on the charts pretty soon. What is your prognosis?
Yes, 180 definitely pretty soon, and from there, the stock might take off towards 200. But yes, 180 on immediate basis, one can stay intact.
That's the view on Zomato. But let's take a query from Satya. He's written in and wants to know about stocks like Federal Bank and City Union Bank. Are you spotting more upside on these two counters in particular?
CUB, yes, but CUB, has time and again faced resistance at around 141 to 142 zones. So until and unless we cross that, I wouldn't recommend a fresh long. But of course, any dip towards 130 is also a buying opportunity. So wait for the dip to happen and stay long for 140 to 141. And above that, if sustains, then 160 will definitely happen. Talking about Federal Bank, 160 is the immediate target. We see a lot of call unwinding happening there. So I believe it will cross that and sustain and move towards targets of 175 to 180.
All right, that's the view then, Satya. Hope that answers your query. Let's take up the first, query that has been sent us to in by a lady viewer. Then, Jia Mehta wants to know your thoughts on Sterling and Wilson Solar. Now, this stock saw a very good uptrend over the last 6 months. 50 to 60% kind of uptick. But off late, the rally has cooled off, right? So, do you think this weakness over the last 1 month or so presents a good buying opportunity?
Yes, on every decline towards 550, this can be a buying opportunity for 600 and 610. Above that, it will see a good spurt again towards new upside targets.
All right, that's the view. Hope that answers your query, Jia. But what about NLC India? I mean, it is in focus today, given the fact that the government will sell somewhere around up to 7% stake via an OFS. Anything that you are spotting there in terms of level?
No, as of now, I'm sorry, the chart's not coming up. The data is not very clear.
All right. Another query that's coming in from Krishna is on Equitas Bank. Results were good. Performance, however, stock wise, if you pull up the charts of Equitas Bank, I want to see how it's really doing in today's session. What is the kind of level you'll be watching out for there? Okay, stock is doing fairly okay-ish, holding on to that 100 level. Do you see any more upside here? It's just about higher by 0.4%.
It is, quite flat as of now, but yes, 105, 108 can happen. But keep a stop loss of 97 on immediate basis.
All right, 97 levels on an immediate basis. But what about the auto names? Other two-wheelers like Bajaj Auto has seen good traction in yesterday's session. Do you expect higher highs there?
Yes, Bajaj Auto, the entire two-wheeler pack, Bajaj Auto, Hero Motor, TVS Motor, they are seeing one side upside rally. But yes, this 800 to 900 zones where the immediate targets, which we saw, quite, already being done there for Bajaj Auto. So little cool off can happen here towards 8200 zones. So that, again gives you a fresh opportunity to go long.
All right, that's the view then on Bajaj Auto. But a query coming in on Bharat Electronics from Naveen. Do you see more upside? Do you think the risk reward is favorable for some of these defense names that have run up quite a bit?
Yeah, that, like I said, BEL, I'm very positive for targets of 260 to 270 zones from here. So, and the risk reward is actually very favorable because you have a good support at around 200 zones.
All right. Another stock that I want your view is on Sun Pharma. It hit a fresh 52-week high yesterday. What would be the resistance level there?
Sun Pharma, yes, 1600 and above it is holding. So keep a stop loss at 1590. It can do 1645 to 1660.
And the gas stocks, of course, yesterday after a 12-13% drubbing, Mahanagar gas has, is kind of limping back, right? It's up by 0.6%. But would you say that, that massive 10 to 15% dip is a very good buying opportunity for the likes of IGL, MGL, or even Gujarat Gas for that matter, that has underperformed?
Definitely, MGL, it is a very good level now to accumulate and stay long for targets of 1500 and above again.
All right, that's the view on Mahanagar Gas. But, couple of more queries trickling in. Persistence from the IT pack, persistent systems. What would your view be there on the charts? Is it looking okay in the mid-cap IT space?
Yes, entire IT pack is again, holding on, and they're all well poised to see a little more upside from here for targets of, 8800. Again, persistent system can be watched out for.
Another stock that I want to ask you about is Tata Investments. That has been, on an upward trajectory. Do you think the stock is now in overbought zone? What are the charts signaling there?
Yeah, for now, I would suggest, to little wait and watch out here because stocks have already run up a lot. And for now, little holding on and waiting it out is much, much appreciated.
All right, that's the view then. I think, we've discussed a number of queries and a number of stocks. But with that, I would like to call it a day here. Shilpa, thanks a lot for taking out time and joining in, on this Women's Day special. Wishing you a very happy Women's Day in advance, and hope to touch base with you sometime soon on the show again.
Thank you so much.
Well, markets in fine stead. We did open above that 22,500 mark, although we've cooled off a bit. But, extremely flat, right now, just about 7 odd points down for the Nifty. And the mid-cap index, however, is managing to hold on to those slim gains that it's witnessing. Also, the advanced decline ratio is firmly tilted in favor of gainers. 2.6:1. That's the NSE advanced decline ratio. And of course, JSW Steel, Bajaj Finance has also managed to stage a good comeback. UPL continues to move in on an upward trajectory after months of being stuck in a downward trend. And, the likes of Asian Paints, Hindalco are some of the other gainers. But with that, we are completely timed out on this edition of Opening Bell. Wishing all our women viewers a very happy Women's Day in advance. Hope, you continue to shatter glass ceilings and do well in your respective careers. And, of course, keep rocking. But with that, thanks a lot for tuning in. But you guys stay tuned to Money Control for all your other news and updates.